for Nolan Xavier Wells. 18 years old, gone too soon. Mississippi, y'all got some explaining to do. Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. July 4th lights, boat ride with the crew. Young King Nolan chasing dreams, Ocean Springs through and through. Horn Island called his name, he relaxing in the blue. 2 days later found on the sand. What happened to you? Independent autopsy dropped, but it's undetermined. Red mark on the back of the head, neck structures missing. Absurd. State sitting quiet, toxicology on the shelf. Family screaming for truth, but y'all protecting yourself. Nolan was a star athlete with a future bright. Now his mama crying every single night. Golden trip turned nightmare. Questions in the air. Who was on that island? Why the silence there? Mississippi, need to release that report. Low down, dirty ass Mississippi. What you hide? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? Talk. I pray the family get real answers. And no, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today. Mississippi, the Most High gonna really deal with you. Grand jury waiting, but the people still fighting. No severe trauma, they say, but the story don't add up clean. Ways whispering secrets, covering up the scheme. Oh, young black man gone, another one in the South. History repeating, time to open your mouth. What you hiding in them files? Why the delay? Transparency dying, why the family pray? Nolan's light was shining, future snatched away. Now the whole world watching what Mississippi say. We marching, we posting, we demanding justice loud for every mother losing sons behind that murky cloud. Oh.
I pray the family get real answers.
No more games, no more lies.
No more games, no more lies.
Nolan deserved better, the truth never dies. From the island to the courtroom, we standing tall. Mississippi,
Your reckoning,
gon' come.
one and all.
Finding all. Mississippi, need to release that report. Release it now, release it now, release it now. Need to release that report. Mississippi, what you hiding? Why you not talking? Why the hell you not saying a damn thing? I pray the family get real answers. No, we the people won't go away. Never, hell no, not today, not today. Mississippi, Most High gonna really deal with you. For Nolan Wells, we won't go away. Release the report. Justice now.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, and this is your daily vitamins. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click that notification bell and click the word all so you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Okay, so with that all being said, let's get ready to get back into it. If you missed this morning's live, please go back and watch it. And let's get into it. Let's get into it. Miss Tree says, keep letting the ancestors guide you to get justice for Nolan. Absolutely, beloved. Thank you for that. And thank you for being a member for 5 months. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now, with that all being said, let's see who is in here with your nefarious selves. Okay, Laverne, Pearly, Mary. All right, let's get into it. Mr. Muggs. Okay. Forever Black Love. I hope it's no trolls in here because y'all gonna get told off. Okay, please pay attention. Ha! Juju is here, Queen Amoni Huey. All right, let's get into it. 27DD. Queen Israel is here. All right. Danielle Polite. Okay, Deronda, I see you. Betty Boop, Juju, E. Warrell. All right, Ebony Plummer, Charlotte. Okay, let's get into it. Mr. Billy Bathgate. All right, Yvonne, G from the land. Just anticipate. Okay, Aqua Girl Rising. Oops, Aqua Girl Rising. I forgot. I was supposed to make you a moderator. I had a request. Yahudi Blue is here. Chocolates. Okay. Let's get into it. Shannon. Everybody hit that like button. Okay. Daughter of Zion is here. All right. Nessa G. Okay. Laverne. All right. So everybody hit the like button. Thank you in advance. And also, please double check and make sure that you're still subscribed. You know, sometimes people get unsubscribed on ScrewTube. Okay. Hey, Trisha, I see you, beloved. With that all being said, let's have a brief. Hey, Chili Willie from Philly, 57 Beige Fox. Lawya is here. Okay. Now, before we get started, hey, OG Patrice, let's have a brief word from my sponsor. I see you, Robert, Marvin, Natera. Okay. Let's have a brief word from my sponsor at 12 Tribes. Here we go. D Major is in the virtual building.
Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
All right, so with that being said, don't forget you can purchase 12 Tribes Hair Oil at Etsy.com. Just look for Lisa Crafts. And don't forget she also sells products at Walmart.com and she sells spirit oil as well. Okay, so let's get ready to get black into it. First of all, let's talk about Trump and LeBron because what's really going on here? Okay, why is Trump having the audacity, dare I say, to go in on LeBron? Now, I'm about to get into it because, first of all, who can Trump call racist? Who can Trump call racist, especially a black person? Hey, Truth Brown, and thank you for that lovely selection. Okay, that, for those of you who don't know, that music that I just played was from Truth Brown. Okay, so let's get into it because Trump is a whole mess. Now, before we go to what Trump had to say about LeBron, I'm going to go to what LeBron had to say. Okay? And this is probably why Trump called him racist. You see, here's the thing I want you all to pay attention to. What we're going to talk about today, beloveds, is a topic that's dear to my heart. Okay. Now, Robin DiAngelo, if you all haven't heard of her, those of you who've been following me since I started this channel in 2020, I know you've heard of her because I've talked about her before. I've mentioned her work before, and I've gone to her seminars before. Now, this is a white woman who calls out something that she has deemed as white fragility, and it is very dangerous for Black folk. Okay. And we're going to talk about that today. But what I want to say is that's what Trump has. It is. And see, here's the thing. You know, these racist MAGA minion type people, and I'm not talking about the good white folk ever, but the racist people amongst us who don't like people that look like me just because we look like me, you see, the thing about them is they have a fragile sense of self. Okay, they're not happy with themselves. No matter what they tell you, I don't care how much money, billions, trillions, whatever they have, they're not happy with themselves because you have to realize that people who are happy and pleased with themselves and living their best life, what they never do is hate on other people. They don't have time for it. Okay, they don't have time for it. You see, they're high energy, they're high vibrational, and usually people that are high vibrational attract or deal with other high vibrational people. Okay, what they don't do is stoop to those who are miserable, who just want to have company. Miss Tree says, been with you, Michi, straight since 2020. Love y'all. Thank you, beloved. I love you right black. Okay, and thank you for your contribution to the channel. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. So I said all that to say what we have here with Trump, Trump has a very fragile ego. And I've told you all before that he can dish it, but he can't take it. He can always criticize and talk trash about other people, but don't you dare say anything about him. You see, that's why he wants to be a dictator. That's why he wants to censor us. So people can't say anything negative about him ever. That's what he wants. But he thinks that he can call people porky. He can call women pigs. He can call black people low IQ. Because notice every time he mentions low IQ, it's always directed to a black person. Okay, please pay attention. And you see, this is why I don't fool with MAGA and I don't give a damn about MAGA. And this is why when MAGA minions come in my chat trying to cause disruptions, trying to call us nasty names and all of that, it doesn't bother me. Because I know that really that's how they feel about themselves. You see, every accusation is a confession. Okay, trying to project. All right. Jim says he's a white supremacist. No, he isn't, beloved. No, he isn't. I disagree. And I'm going to tell you why. None of them are white supremacists because they're not supreme or superior, though they wish they were. They're only wanton supremacists, is what I call them, because they just want to be that, but they never could be. How can you have an aversion to the sun and call yourself superior to anyone upon the land? I have several questions. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about it because LeBron had some things to say about Trump and how Trump is being divisive. And you see, what I find interesting is the fact that, and listen, let me tell you guys this. Excuse me, even though we're talking about racism and all of these things or whatever, let's be careful of the words we put in the chat. Don't use any racially disparaging words or anything like that because I'll delete them, okay? Now, but here's the thing. At the end of the day, LeBron said some things about Trump being divisive, and he is. But the interesting thing is, racist people, the MAGA types, they always want to act like we are being divisive when we call out them for their racism. Please make it all make sense. That's nothing but projection and deflection. They try to gaslight us and try to shame us so that we don't continue to call them out. But they're going to be called out, at least by me. I'm never going to stop. As long as there's racism, I'll be right here on the front lines to call it out wherever it resides. Okay? So with that being said, here's another thing. Here's how you know that the MAGA minions are so fragile. Because you see, they cannot stand to be called the racists that they actually are. Now, I would think that if you didn't want to be called and deemed as racist and viewed that way, that you would just stop being racist. Okay, Aisha Katano says, breaking news. See Willie D's latest video on the emergency call. Say the case is solved. Honey, I solved that case this morning, boo-boo. Sorry you missed it. I went live at 7 o'clock and broke that story, okay? Now, that all being said, you heard it here first. That's all I'm saying. But thank you for your insight and letting me know. And also, thank you for the contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. But yeah, I already told that story and had the audio and all of that. And also, just for the record, I actually played the full audio last night. Okay? I played it last night. And then this morning, I played the part that was enhanced, that was put out by TMZ, where they actually, you can hear them in the background. Okay? You can hear them in the background. That's why I said if you all missed the morning live, please go back and watch. Okay, so now with that all being said, and shout out to Willie D for covering the story. Shout out to everyone who's covering the story. Shout out to everyone who wants justice for Nolan. Okay? Shout out to everyone who wants justice for Nolan. Now, with that all being said, let's go to what LeBron said, because here's the thing. The MAGA minions, they don't like to be called racist. And I would think that they would just stop being racist, right? They can't get rid of the hate. It's in their heart. It's embedded in the very fiber of their DNA. So they will always have a hatred towards people who look like me just for existing and just being who we are. We've never done anything collectively to them, to disparage them, to oppress them, to harm them, to hurt them. And they know it. And they also know that we don't have the power to be racist, because racism isn't just words. Here's the thing. See, here's how you know they're fragile, because they call us racist just for calling them out, just for words that we say. Not that we're doing anything to them physically. Okay, we're just calling them out on their BS, but even saying something that they don't like is racist to them. Well, that's not what racism is, and they know it. Because the fact of the matter is, if all they did was call us nasty names, I wouldn't have a problem. Okay, I wouldn't have a problem, because we all learned sticks and stones when we were kids, right? So them calling us names, whether it's jigger with an N or whether it's monkeys, chimps, whatever, that wouldn't really bother me, because I would just call them right out. Okay, I would just call them names, in return. We all would. But the bottom line is they know darn well racism is about a system that serves to benefit one group of people while disparaging others that don't look like them. And that's what it is. It's systemic. Okay, it's institutional, and it is a whole system that they have created. And so it's not up to us to break it down. They have to do that themselves. That's why we look for the good white people that are speaking out against it. They are the ones who can possibly one day, hopefully, bring it to the ground. Okay, Isaac Catano says, all right, Queen, woke up late today. That's okay, beloved. Listen, let me just tell y'all a secret. Thank you for that and also for your contribution. I appreciate you. But here's the thing. Listen, I got up this morning and did that live at 7 o'clock because quite frankly, I thought it was Friday. I literally did not know it was Saturday. Had I known it was Saturday, I promise y'all I wouldn't have gotten up that early to do that live because I wouldn't have even thinking y'all would be up. Okay? I wouldn't have even thought y'all would be up. I didn't realize it was Saturday until later on in the afternoon. I happened to look at my phone for something and saw. And I said, Saturday? And so, yeah, I'm sure you were asleep, beloved. I should have been asleep too. Okay? Barbara says a racist can't call another one racist. Exactly. And that's what I mean about Trump. He sure can. He needs to sit down somewhere because we all, if we have sense or being honest with ourselves, we absolutely know that Trump is racist. Okay. Dan says, I damn sure wasn't up, Queen. My bad. Yeah, I know, beloved. That's okay. That's why I didn't have any moderators except for one or two. That's okay. I know y'all be getting y'all's rest. My moderators have jobs. Okay. They have to work and they need their rest whenever they can get it. So I was literally up all night last night gathering receipts, doing research and all this and that. And that's why I went ahead and did that video at 7. Now let's get into it because LeBron, this is what he said that has Trump's feathers in a ruffle.
One, because I believe our president is kind of trying to divide us. But I think
Kind of?
yeah, is not. I don't want to say kind of. He's dividing us, and what I noticed over the last few months that he's kind of used sport to kind of divide us, and that's something that I can't relate to because I know that sport was the first time I ever was around someone white, you know, and I got an opportunity to see them and learn about them, and they got an opportunity to learn about me, and we became very good friends, and I was like, oh, wow, this is all because of sports. And sports has never been something that divide people. It's always been something that brings someone together. One, because I believe our president is kind of trying to divide us.
Yeah, Trump is doing his best. And I'm going to tell you all something too. They have a sneaky little trick up their sleeve. And by they, I mean Trump and his administration. And it has something to do with the immigrants being deported. And we're going to talk about that tomorrow. Okay? They have a plan for them and for us. And we're going to get into it tomorrow.
One job in America, the point of person is someone who doesn't understand the people and really don't give a fuck about the people. When I was growing up, there were like 3 jobs that you look for inspiration or you felt like these were the people that can give me life. It was the president of the United States. It was whoever was the best in sports. And then it was like the greatest musician at the time. You never thought you can be them, but you can grab inspiration from. I feel like I can be, you know, if it was a neighborhood African-American cop and he was cool as hell, come around, you know, I feel like I could be him.
It's easy to be.
Yeah, I could be him, but I never felt I could be the president of the United States, but I grabbed inspiration from that. And this time right now, it's at a bad time. While we cannot change what comes out of that man's mouth, we can continue to alert the people that watch us, that listen to us, as this is not the way. The number one job.
Now, with that being said, let's go to what Trump said about LeBron. And I was not surprised. He already told them, called them SOBs. Remember when they were kneeling? Okay, Mary J says, it's sad people are too ignorant to know you judge by character, not skin color. It's so frustrating. Yes, it is very sad, beloved. It absolutely is. Okay, and the thing of it is, that's why when these MAGA minions call people like me who call out their BS racist, I don't pay them any attention because I could never be racist at the end of the day. Okay, I don't do anything that racist people do ever. Racist people mind other people's business because other people don't look like them. They go around harassing and trying to stalk these people, trying to make their day miserable, trying to make false police reports. They do all of these things. We know about the Karens, male and female, and they teach their children to be hateful in some cases. Okay, and that's why we have all these drownings and people being swinging from trees lately. Okay, this is not a mistake. It's all by design. And we're going to talk about how and why this is all going on. Okay, so please pay attention. Let's go to the nefarious Trump. And Mary J., thank you for your insight into the topic, beloved, and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings.
It was announced LeBron James has decided that he wants his next team to be the 76ers. Where do you stand on LeBron versus Michael Jordan as the best ever?
Well, Michael Jordan's a guy that's a friend of mine. Play golf with him. He's a really good guy. And I think LeBron is, maybe he's a racist, but maybe he doesn't like Trump. I don't know. But I only like people that like me. So I would say Michael Jordan all the way.
I find that interesting. Here's the thing. Like I said, Trump is a malignant narcissist. He can't take what he dishes, and he's upset because LeBron said what he said about him being divisive. Okay, so he's got the nerve to call somebody racist, but he does like Michael Jordan. And that's no surprise because this is Michael Jordan right here. Okay, that's Michael Jordan. Okay, Michael Jordan does not come out and speak on Black issues. He does not do anything for the Black community, and we all know that he loves the people that don't look like him. All right. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but all I'm saying is if he's hanging out with Trump and playing golf, he has to be a raccoon. What else could he be? Make it all make sense. I mean, did he not see and did he not get offended when Trump posted that picture, that video depicting Barack and Michelle Obama? Okay, the most intellectual, best looking couple to ever grace the Oval Office in the White House. Yeah. Depicted them looking like monkeys. So any Black person is down with Trump. You have to be a raccoon, point blank and period. As far as I'm concerned, anywho. Now, with that all being said, I also want to talk about this activist who was allegedly murdered. And that's no surprise because we know this is often what happens to activists who are actually doing the work, not the ones that are grifting, like Patrice Concolors, who was one of the heads of Black Lives Matter.
Teron Evans Jr. was targeted, set up, and unalived in Potsdam, New York. Teron was an advocate for the Black Lives Matter movement in Potsdam, New York. Teron moved to Potsdam, New York in June 2020. On January 8, 2021, Teron's on and off girlfriend claimed that he unalived himself in her home in Potsdam, New York. I later found out that she and her son that lived with her are both police informants. The St. Lawrence County sheriffs, who I had been calling out prior to Teron's unaliving, had a file in existence 8 hours before the 911 call of what they labeled an unaliving of himself. We got to put a stop to this. The St. Lawrence County Sheriffs, Potsdam Police, St. Lawrence County District Attorneys, New York State Police, and many others must be held accountable and justice must be served. Do whatever you can do to help, please.
Yeah, that's a darn shame, but that just lets you know how deep they will go, how far they will go to bring you down. D Major says, let's not be too jealous of Jordan. He's earned his status as the greatest athlete of all times. Please sit down somewhere. D Major, don't start this mess with me today, okay? Now, I love you, but don't get me started, okay? First of all, who's jealous of Michael Jordan? Because I criticize him, I'm jealous? Nobody's jealous of him, boo-boo. Okay, nobody is jealous of him. Now, back when my sons were growing up, I spent plenty of money on those darn Jordans because that's what they wanted. So nobody's hating on him. But here's the thing. He's not the greatest athlete of all time. I mean, maybe in your eyes, that's what he is. But clearly, honey, the greatest athlete of all times is none other than Muhammad Ali. Okay, don't ever disrespect him by putting Jordan above. Okay, this man hangs out with Trump. All right, Muhammad Ali would never. Okay, remember that. All right, remember that. All right? Don't go there. Now let me continue. And of course, you're entitled to your opinion, but I'm just saying, please don't disrespect the greatest, honey, because Michael Jordan is not. Now, he might be the greatest in basketball, okay, to some. But at the end of the day, nobody's jealous of him, boo-boo. That's just what it isn't, okay? Jealous of him where? Okay, so, and here's another thing. Let me just say this. I wanted to let the record reflect that if Lynn Bias had not died of an overdose when he had just gotten signed, I promise you, you wouldn't even know who the hell Michael Jordan is. I promise you that. Go check the stats. Now let's continue. Let's continue because suicide, aka self-deletions, or lynchings. I want y'all to pay attention because I told you all weeks ago when we were finding all these people as strange fruit, people that look like us. I told you all that they will not classify these deaths as lynchings, which is what they are, after Beulah May Donald sued the Klan in 1981 and won all that money and bankrupted them. So now it's always going to be called a self-deletion, okay, aka suicide with an S. Okay, so that's just what it is. There's a common trend of this going on, and it seems to be an uptick and a rise in it right now as we speak currently. Okay, so what they have done is they have just changed what they call it. Now, how many times have I told you all that things have not changed? We've not progressed and gone so far ahead. They're still doing the same Jim Crow tactics, using the same nefarious Jim Crow tactics that they've always used. They just call it something else. That's what they do. Let me give you a couple of examples. For instance, they don't have signs on the stores or the storefronts or on the businesses that say hiring whites only, no blacks allowed. But what they do is they have dress codes where they say, oh, you can't wear tennis shoes, you can't wear baseball caps. And if you're black and you show up with those items on, they'll say you can't be allowed in. But then a white person can come along, and don't act like y'all don't know, because I've shown you plenty of videos showing just exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, it happened right here in Atlanta a few years ago, and T.I. happen to know the owner or whatever. But anywho, they will let a white person come in with sneakers. I've shown you the footage. And then in these corporate businesses, what they'll do is they'll say that you cannot come to work with locks, braids, afros, bantu knots, basically any type of natural hairstyle that black people are known to wear. You can't wear it in corporate America. See, that's why we had to come up with the Crown Acts. Okay, to protect against those things. So the bottom line is, when they're saying you can't wear those type of hairstyles, guess what? If their people wear those type of hairstyles, they still get hired. You won't. So it's the same thing. It's the same soup twice warmed over. So now they're doing the same thing with the lynchings. They're just calling them suicides. That's what it is. Okay? That's what it is. And the reason there's so many of them in this last year is because of Charlie Kirk's death and how black people didn't give a damn. Now, some of the black folk did, but how many of us didn't give a damn about Charlie Kirk? We called him racist and all of this and that. And so you all remember, because I had a debate with Marlon, okay, from that other channel that I shan't mention. But at the end of the day, we had a whole debate about it because he was caping for Charlie Kirk and saying he wasn't racist. Now, that's his opinion, but I know a racist when I see one, okay? And even furthermore, when I hear one, okay? So after that happened, that's when days later, who do we find dead hanging in a tree? Trey Reed. Okay, yeah, Trey Reed was found hanging in a tree days later. Why? Because they say that days prior, he had gotten into some white boys at his college campus because he was defending the young black lady who said something about Charlie Kirk. Okay? Nobody's ever been brought to justice for that either. Okay, rest in peace to Trey Reed. See, all of these people on this video or on this thumbnail, every last one of these people died by either alleged accidental drowning while they were amongst people who didn't look like them, or they were found as strange fruit hanging from a tree. Let's talk about Cal Basinga. And I've reported on every last one of these people. It is so sad that I still have to make these reports. It is so distressing, okay? It is so heartbreaking that I still have to do these reports on my people, okay? Please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about it. And let's not forget that Cal Basinga, who's African, and so is Juliana Nazita, okay? She was only 16. She was a baby, found swinging from a tree near a church. Okay, Cal Basinga had gotten into it with a police officer days before he was found. All right, and I showed you all the video of him arguing with that police officer. So I think we can figure out, if we think long enough, and we don't even have to think that hard to figure out what really happened to him. Just my opinion. Now, in the past month, now this is an article for 2020. I just want you all to pay attention, just to let you know how it's still going on. Okay, in the past month, the bodies of 5 people of color have been discovered hanging from trees. The police are labeling these deaths as self-deletions, yet the families and community members disagree. Are these hangings the product of a new wave of lynchings by white vigilantes and the police? Okay, I believe so. I believe so. Brutality and racist violence against Black men and women. Now, across the country, Black bodies are being discovered hanging in trees, and police are dragging their feet on the investigations. From California to Texas to New York City, more and more Black people are being discovered hanged in the midst of a national uprising against police brutality and anti-Black racism. Now, in each case, the police have labeled these deaths as self-deletions with little to no investigation, like I've been telling you all, okay? Because I went to school for criminal justice, like I told you all. I used to be a criminal justice professor. With that being said, the bottom line is I know all about gathering and collecting evidence at a crime scene. And every time they say, oh, nothing to see here, folks, this looks like it was, there's no evidence of foul play, it looks like a self-deletion, you already know they're lying. Because where's the evidence? You didn't collect any. You didn't conduct an investigation. So how can you just say what it is? See, that's the same little trick and con game that Sheriff Ledbetter down there in Ocean Springs tried to play when it came to Nolan Wells. But guess what? A new day is dawning, and we're fed up. Okay, and Nolan Wells should be the last straw. Okay, should be the last straw. We should not continue to sit idly by and accept their nefarious lies. Okay, when they come out and tell us that these people did it to themselves. There was a young man with 2 broken legs, and they said he did that to himself. And then sometimes they even have their hands cuffed behind their backs. Okay, I want y'all to pay attention. So anyway, it goes on to say that the police, they say that in each case, the police have labeled these deaths as self-deletions with no investigation, little to no investigation. Now, then they go on to say that the police are doing this and often disregarding the victims, their families' assertions that they were not suicidal, okay? And they say that is both outrageous and offensive because it assumes that Black people across this country are suddenly choosing to take their own lives in a way that very specifically evokes the racist violence of the KKK during the Jim Crow era. Now, the much more likely scenario is that these men were murdered as retaliation for mass protests against police violence, and that the police are helping to cover it up. Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. Nobody's going to tell me anything different. Yes, it is. That's what it is, and this is nothing new because, like I told you all, those 3 activists, the 2 Jewish young men, and the Black guy who went down there to help people vote in 1967 in Mississippi. Okay, if you didn't see the movie Mississippi Burning, you should watch it. But anyway, with that being said, the police were involved in that. The sheriff was the one who sent out the order. Okay, so the bottom line is the police have always been involved in these sorts of things. The FBI released a report maybe 5 years or so ago saying that these white nationalists or these white supremacist groups, wanton supremacists, these hate groups had infiltrated the police departments. Okay, they didn't infiltrate, they've always been within there. They always have. Now they go on to say, public outcry has been quick and loud. Parents and loved ones have largely denied that because these have been self-deletions, and activists have called for more investigations. Now, in response to these pressures, as well as the pressure of ongoing protests, some police departments have begun to re-examine their initial claims. But it is very clear that the state is perfectly happy for these victims to remain nameless Black bodies. But they do have names. These victims of what are very possibly modern day lynchings, okay, include Robert Fuller, the man whose death I predicted. I had a dream about it and told you all about it on the live. A Black man who was found hanging from a tree in Los Angeles where the coroner declared his death was a self-deletion. A ruling that is now being walked back after massive public outcry. Just days later, after Fuller's body was found, officers from the LA Sheriff's Office shot and deleted his brother. Do you all even remember that? I reported that too, in an incident that there is no video evidence of. Okay, and of course they blame the victim. A week earlier, and only 50 miles away, another Black man, Malcolm Harsh, whom I also reported on, was discovered hanging from a tree across from a library. Police also ruled Harsh's death a self-deletion, despite the fact that there was blood on his shirt, possibly indicating a struggle, and Harsh's family initially insisted that he was not depressed and that self-deletion was not even plausible. Yet another example comes from the past week after Dominic Alexander, a Black man from the Bronx, was discovered hanging from a tree in Upper Manhattan. Also in New York City, nooses appeared in a city park the night before Juneteenth. You see, that's why you have these things happening around, in the month of June, end of May, and throughout the month of June, and then July, because you have Juneteenth, and then you have the 4th of July. And like I've told you all, and I showed you the receipts, that the Klan is still very active in the United States. If you missed the broadcast that I did about a week or so ago showing all of the Klan activity throughout numerous states, okay, here in the U.S., please go back and watch, because they're very active. Don't let them fool you. Just because you don't see them walking around with those hoods on, see, they don't have to wear hoods now. Now they wear police uniforms. They wear white lab coats as doctors. They wear Black robes as judges. Okay, they sing in the choir at church. They talk about the Lord, all of that. So you see, the Klan is actually registered as a Christian group. Make that make sense, right? So anyway, that all being said, again, the NYPD was uninterested in investigating. Since May the 27th, at least 5 people of color have been discovered hanging in trees across the country. Okay, that was in 2020. And you know why that was happening in 2020? Well, it was because we were complaining and people were out there protesting about the lives of Ahmaud Arbery, which Benjamin Crump is the one who got that story out there, he and Sean King. Okay, but some people want to try to go in on Ben Crump. Listen, Ben Crump is not perfect, but at the end of the day, he gets the job done. He brings light to many of these cases. Now, you can think he's an ambulance chaser all you want. You can think that he's out here for money, whatever. At the end of the day, of course, he wants money. We all go to work for money. Nobody works for free. Okay, let's get it right. But nonetheless, he is helping Black people. Okay, for the most part. Now, that being said, this was all because of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor. If you all remember, I was the first one, I believe I was the only one who actually had the secret grand jury audio from Breonna Taylor's case. Y'all remember that? Okay, and then also it was Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and it was someone else I feel like I'm leaving out. George Floyd, yeah. All of this in 2020. So there were many protests, and there was a whole lot of hate coming from the police towards Black people. A whole lot of police brutality was going on, and a whole lot of Black people were being found as strange fruit. Okay? Now, history textbooks and pieces of art will often try to portray the violence of the Jim Crow era as something that happened in the past, as something we have moved on from. But anyone who has been paying attention knows that's all a lie. The hundreds of police murders of Black men this year and the very real possibility that we're in the midst of modern resurgence of lynchings show that vile ideology of wanton supremacy, they called it white supremacy, I'm going to call it wanton supremacy, is still a very real threat to Black communities. American capitalism is built upon anti-Blackness and cannot survive without it, you see. Because of this, violence will always be used to continue the racist system. Often this violence will be from agents of the state themselves, as we saw in the murder of George Floyd and so many others. But this violence can and does often come from racist vigilantes, now such as the murder of Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, and I want you all to pay attention, because that whole thing with Ahmaud Arbery is, to me, kind of similar to the Nolan Wells case. And by that, I mean, as it pertains to these people having all these ties in a little small town, and also the Carmelo Anthony case. So let's talk about how down there in Frisco, Texas, where Carmelo was tried and convicted, railroaded, okay? All of those people down there know each other. They go to church together. They hang out together. They play golf together. They go on vacations together. All of these things is what these wealthy people do. And in these little small towns, they have the little, the little groups of them that just run everything. That's what they do. It's called the good old boys system. So they have that going on in Frisco, but they also have it going on down there in Ocean Springs. Now, you all heard the governor, Tate Reeves, his racist self. Okay, he sat up there and said that he and Sheriff Ledbetter are friends, that he knows him personally. I bet he does. You see, that's how it works. He not only knows him, and I'm sure that Sheriff Ledbetter and Judge Ashley Cole, who is Warren's stepmother, I'm sure she's friends with Ledbetter. I'm sure she's friends with the coroner. I'm sure all of these people are friends. You see, that's why, in my opinion, they work together in cahoots. Okay, they work together in concert, in unison, and that's why they're all working together. In my opinion, I can't prove it, but I think that's what they're doing, all working together to cover up this whole thing with Nolan Wells. But the truth's coming out. Okay, the truth is coming out regardless. Now, with that all being said, goes on to say that these vigilantes are not always explicitly in league with the state, but they serve the same purpose. Now, that is why in the midst of the largest uprising against racist violence in a generation, many are worried that we are seeing a return of lynchings. I don't think they ever stopped. Because by challenging the existence of the armed force of the state and the racism that sustains it, protesters are coming very close to challenging the full system itself. You see, they're afraid that Black people will start a revolution. See, that's why they get upset about these protests. That's why they come out there dressed in riot gear like they're about to go to war in Iraq or Iran, and it's only just their regular civilians out there just peacefully protesting, not rioting, not burning stuff down, but just peacefully protesting. But they will still come out there and arrest you, or shoot you with those what they call non-lethal bullets that can literally blind you and even kill you. Okay, but they'll do these things because they don't want an uprising. They don't want a whole revolution. Okay. So anyway, with that all being said, it is no wonder then that vigilantes are taking it upon themselves to attack protesters, okay, be it by driving their car into a protest or by a possible return to the murderous intimidation tactics of lynchings. And it is unsurprising that the police aren't investigating it. So in several states, videos from protests have emerged of police officers actively collaborating with armed members of the far right. Now, we know how the Proud Boys, we saw what they were doing in 2020. Okay, and then what did Trump tell them? Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Yeah, he literally acted as though they were working for him. And that's because they likely were. So in one video, an officer warns the right-wingers who are all toting guns that they are about to gas the unarmed protesters, but that he couldn't do it publicly because he didn't want it to look like the police were playing favorites. Do y'all remember that? Y'all remember I reported on that? I want y'all to pay attention, honey. Do y'all remember that? He literally was telling, it was the Proud Boys, if I'm not mistaken. No, it was the Boogaloo Boys. I think it was the Boogaloo Boys because they had on the brown, they had on like the khakis and the black because that's what they wear, right? But do y'all remember I showed you all that video back in 2020? And he was whispering to them, but he was on a hot mic apparently because we heard the whole conversation. He was telling them to back up because we're about to spray them. And we don't want to get it on y'all, whatever. We also don't want it to look like we're playing favorites. Because see, if we spray them, we're going to have to spray y'all. So yeah, that's how that went. Okay. This stuff has been going on. Now, with that all being said, they're all on the same side. The video was a visceral example of what we already knew, that the far right and the police are on the same side. This is why it took so long to arrest the man or the men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. Now, let me talk about that really quickly, because what I was saying about that is Gregory and Travis, okay, the two killers in the Ahmaud Arbery case, the father and son duo. Well, the father had previously worked in law enforcement for about 30 years, and he was friends with the DA and one of the judges. So those two were told to recuse themselves, okay? But at the end of the day, you see, that's why he didn't get arrested right away. The police came to the scene of the crime that same night that it occurred, but they didn't, it wasn't all over the media. Like, they really were trying to sweep it under the rug. You see, that's why I don't care what anyone says. It is very important what Ben Crump does, because he goes down there and looks around and he shines a flashlight on these types of things. Okay. And Sean King used to do that too until y'all ran him off, calling him Talcum X and saying the man wasn't Black when he really is. Okay. But anywho, not only that, they also tried to cover up Breonna Taylor's death. Okay, we didn't find out about Breonna Taylor's murder by the police because they went to the wrong address, mind you, looking for Jamarius Glover, her ex-boyfriend. But that all was covered up too, because we didn't even find out about it until a month after it happened. You see, that's why it is so important that we continue to shine lights on these stories, that we continue to not back down. I don't care what the naysayers say when the haters talk about, oh, you're going to get sued for defamation, or they try to poke holes in what we're saying, the information we're gathering, and all those things. They try to put out fake and false misinformation to purposely try to discredit us, thinking that we'll latch onto the BS and we'll repeat what they're saying, what the false news that they're putting out. So we lose credibility, and it looks like we're all just conspiracy theorists and just making up stuff. That's why they work so hard to do that. Okay, that is why they work so hard to do that, because they don't like the fact that we're calling them out, and that the things that they have kept in the dark are all of a sudden coming to the light. Now, with that all being said, this is why these deaths are being labeled as self-deletions without any investigation. Okay, this is why public outcry about the murder of Alawatoyan Salau is so important, because the police cover up racist murders even when they don't commit them themselves. That's just what they do. They do this because white vigilantism provides another form of intimidation that continues the oppression of the Black working class. Okay, just as the KKK served to target Black activists who were fighting state repression in the 1960s, white vigilantes are serving the same purpose right now. They're trying to scare Black people off the streets, but it ain't gonna work. So far, protesters remain undaunted, and these heinous murders are only fueling the anger of the mobilizations. Now, as the movement develops, protesters must raise the names of these new victims of racist violence in the calls for justice. We must demand justice not only for George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, but also demand full investigations for Robert Fuller, Malcolm Harsh, Teet Gully, Dominic Alexander, and everyone else who has been murdered by racists. And that would be all of these people that you see on the screen right here. Dion Walton, 17 years old. Okay, Tonia Nicole Miller, 25. Trey Reed, I believe he was 18 to 20, somewhere around there. Juliana Nazita was only 16. You have Kyle Basinga, I think he was 18 or 19. You have Timothy Magambo, okay, and he was 18. And then you have more recently Daryl Lowry. He was a baby. He was only 13 years old. Okay, when those two white boys that were foster kids at the same place he was being a temporary foster child at stabbed him and then drug his body to the lake and held him down under the water until he was dead. Okay, 13 years old. All right. And then you have Chad Lakeith Pittman. And then right here in the front, you have Justice Jackson. Justice was the one that they found hanging at the Job Corps facility in Albany, Georgia, just a few weeks ago. Every one of these people that you see, and of course, Nolan Wells, rest in peace to all of them. And I didn't realize that I have Tania on her twice. But here's what I want to say. All of these people, every last one of them died within the last year. Every one of these people. Every one of these people, they died within the last year. And these are just the ones that we know about. These are just the ones that we know about. Now, I want y'all to marinate on that for a second. See, this is why when they come telling us, when they come up in my chat, these MAGA millions, when they come up here telling me and telling you all that we're making it about race, when they come up here and try to tell us that we're spreading hate, they could never make me believe that. That's the lie they want to paint, because they want to make themselves the victims. They want to make themselves the victims when we're the ones being victimized on a regular basis. We are prisoners of war in our own country. Okay, we built this country for free. It was our ancestors. We are indigenous to this country, but they want y'all to think that we all came from Africa. No, we didn't. No, we didn't. But at the end of the day, this is what they are doing. And they want us to think that these young people are taking themselves out, that these people accidentally drowned. Absolutely not. And that's why I'm telling you that Nolan should absolutely be the last damn straw. Okay, the last straw. Now, with that all being said, it is what it is. And let me just tell you why we have these issues. It's because of something, like I told you, known as white fragility. Let's talk about it. Dr. Frances Cress Wilson spoke about it too. Now, she didn't call it white fragility. She had her names for it. But here's the thing. Okay, a sociologist examines the white fragility that prevents white Americans from confronting racism. See, that's the problem. They can't take accountability for the things that they have done, that their ancestors did in the past, and the things that they are doing currently right now. So, in more than 20 years of running diversity training and cultural competency workshops for American companies, the academic and educator Robin DiAngelo has noticed that white people are sensationally bad at discussing racism. Like waves on sand, their reactions form predictable patterns. They will insist that they were taught to treat everyone the same, that they are colorblind. I don't see color, okay? And they don't care if you're pink, purple, or polka dotted. What did I tell you about when people say that? When white people say it doesn't matter if you're pink, purple, green, polka dotted, first of all, that's how you know they're full of crap, because who's that color? Nobody, okay? Nobody. So they will point to friends and family members of color, a history of civil rights activism, or a more salient issue, excuse me, such as class or gender. They will shout and bluster. They will cry. In 2011, DiAngelo coined the term white fragility to describe the disbelieving defensiveness that white people exhibit when their ideas about race and racism are challenged, and particularly when they feel implicated in white supremacy. Now, why she wondered, did her feedback prompt such resistance, as if the mention of racism were more offensive than the fact that they practice it? Isn't that something? Because they don't want to be called out with truth. That's what that is. So in her book, White Fragility, DiAngelo attempts to explicate the phenomenon of white people's paper-thin skin. She argues that our largely segregated society is set up to insulate whites from racial discomfort so that they fall to pieces at the first application of stress, such as, for instance, when someone suggests that flesh-toned may not be an appropriate name for a beige crayon. Okay, unused as unpleasantness. Okay, more than unused to it is racial hierarchies. Okay, they tell white people that they're entitled to peace and deference. They lack the racial stamina to engage in difficult conversations. This leads them to respond to racial triggers. Okay, the show Dear White People, the term white people, yeah, with emotions such as anger, fear, and guilt. See, that even made them upset. And behaviors such as argumentation and silence and withdrawal from the stress reducing situation or inducing situation is why they feel so fragile. You see, the fact of the matter is, they don't want to be held accountable for their history. And this is why people like Trump, they want to take down all of the slavery exhibits. This is why they want to talk about, critical race theory being taught in schools. The fact of the matter is, this is how you know they're obtuse, because critical race theory was never taught in schools. Critical race theory is something that is taught on a college level. Okay. So the fact of the matter is, what they really just didn't want was for us to be teaching Black history or the truth about white history. All they want people to know is that, okay, y'all were slaves, y'all had to fight for civil rights, and that's it. They don't want to talk about Timbuktu. They don't want to talk about the Cometians, i.e., the ancient Egyptians, okay, and what they really look like, and why the Sphinx and other statues over there and monuments have noses missing. They don't want to talk about that, okay? And they want to make movies like the gods of Egypt. And have one Black person, and that person's not even a god. Please make it all make sense. Okay, E-World says hello and thank you, Queen. Well, hello and thank you, beloved. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. So the sad fact of the matter is, look, they always try to say that we play the race card. Here's the thing. It's kind of hard not to play the race card when that's the only card you've been dealt. See, we didn't make up this false construct of race. Okay, nor racism. That's what they did. They created that. So don't get mad at us because we're the victims of your nefarious system at the end of the day, right? Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Now, I want to go, and here's the thing too. Let me just remind you all how some of these folks even tell their own children if they get lost or whatever, to come find one of us, not one of their own. So that should let you know how violent some of them can be. But they want to act like we are so violent. And they've somehow convinced many of the people throughout the world to feel the same way about us. So many other groups of people they will hate on Black people. They will disparage Black people. And at the end of the day, all Black people really want is to be left the hell alone. Just be allowed to thrive and survive and live and do what we want to do just as everyone else. Now, we know there's nefarious Black people out here committing crimes, but so what? They have people commit crimes too. Okay, and they love to bring up Black on Black crime, but the truth of the matter is they love Black on Black crime. The only time they speak against Black on Black crime is when we bring up one of them killing one of us. They act as though we don't have a right to talk about that if we're not talking about this. Here's the thing. First of all, we can talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about because they do the exact same thing. They want to talk about Black people killing white people, but they never talk about their own killing their own. You see, they do the same thing that they accuse us of doing. Every accusation is always a confession. But here's the thing. I want you to think about how even with that scenario of that white woman who was on the train and that Black guy just came up and started stabbing her for no reason, may she rest in peace. But at the end of the day, here's the thing. That man was deemed as mentally incompetent. He has mental health issues. But see, they don't care when Black people have mental health issues, but they always play the mental health card, right? Yeah, that's what they do. And then they want to act like the judicial system is fair for all of us. But no, it isn't. Because why did that racist white woman who was arrested and charged and convicted of breaking the bones of Black babies, why did she only get 3 years? And Carmelo got 35. I want y'all to think about that. Okay? Like stuff, everyone please like and share. But I'm going to tell y'all something else. What I find interesting is this. What I find interesting is the fact that let me pull this up. You all know MAGA Mike, right? Y'all know who MAGA Mike is. For those of you who tune in when I talk about politics, you know who MAGA Mike is, right? MAGA Mike is the Speaker of the House, Trump's minion. Do y'all know that he adopted a Black child? Did y'all know that? Because I didn't. Robert says Black is dead in law. Yes, I've told y'all that 1,000 times. Black is, in fact, dead in the eyes of the law. With that being said, here's the thing, though. He adopted a Black child. Is he serious? We all know he's racist. Laverne says they need us to need them. Facts. Exactly. They absolutely do. That's why they act like they don't want us around, but then they always come in where we are. Isn't that something? And thank you for that, beloved, and your contributions to the channel. Peace, love, and blessings. Now listen to this.
So fucking bizarre to me. And I never hear really anyone talk about it. When Mike Johnson was in his 20s, he married a beard. And by beard, I mean a woman, to cover up his gayness. While still in their 20s, they adopted a young 14-year-old Black child. Who the fuck adopts anybody when they're in their 20s? Like, who does that? Also, what happened to this boy? Has anyone ever heard about this boy again, ever? Now, I understand if he wants to live in anonymity, I would too. But something smells stinky, like a butt thumb. It reeks.
Okay, I'm curious. Where is that child? Because that was just real weird to me. Okay, I definitely did not know that. I definitely did not know that. I had no idea. Okay, and I find it all interesting. I find it all interesting, but hold on. Now, let me play this for you all because I showed you all this previously, but I'm playing it again for anybody who missed it. Okay, how that Cajun Navy dude sat up there and lied on Ben Crump. Okay, lied on Ben Crump and then sitting there talking about he asked Ben Crump if he wanted those cadaver dogs and Ben Crump said no. Here's the thing. I don't believe Ben Crump said no because I showed you all the proof and receipts. I looked it up on ChatGPT and it said that was not even true. Okay, but even if it is true, the bottom line is Ben Crump wouldn't have any choice but to say no. He can't tell somebody you can come and search somebody else's stuff. The police even have to have a warrant to do it. So why would Ben Crump be the one to do it? Okay, and I found it very interesting because Queen Sheba was covering this topic topic, and she was saying that Ben Crump may have dropped the ball inadvertently or whatever, or he may have set the case back or something along those lines. And I sent her a super chat to tell her, girl, at the end of the day, Ben Crump does not have any authority to tell anyone that some cadaver dogs is going to come and search their property. Okay. That's what he doesn't have the right to do. And he knows that. So, of course, he wouldn't do it. My thing is, I could have sworn that when that story was initially reported, that they said they asked the police if they wanted those dogs, and they said no. Now, that's what I thought I read somewhere. Maybe I'm crazy because I reported that to you all. So clearly I read it somewhere is all I'm saying. I literally was reading to you all when I said it. Okay. Laverne says, oh, I'm sorry. I already read that. Hold on, beloveds. Let me get this next super chat. Miss Tree says race, and they the only ones interested in playing. Exactly, beloved. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for your insight into the topic and your contribution. I appreciate you. Peace, love, and blessings. Now here, Nick Knight said, that's what I heard too, Queen. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. But see, here's the thing, beloved. I told y'all everybody's changing their story. The Cajun Navy dude, Brian Trasher, is changing his story. Now, the other Cajun Navy dude who thought it was suspicious and said that nobody's going to tell him, it just didn't seem right, that he said it didn't sit right with him, that Nolan supposedly drowned out there, but nobody out of hundreds of people saw anything. Now, Brian Trasher said that too initially, but all of a sudden he's got a whole new tune to sing, okay? That's what he's been doing. And he's trying to go in on Ben Crump and saying that Ben Crump sat up there and misrepresented their words, that they never said Nolan was fully clothed. Oh, y'all didn't? Oh, okay, because I could have sworn I heard one of y'all say that on Nancy Grace.
Somebody come listen to this.
Are so forthcoming. The fact that they told us, we haven't heard from any of their local officials, that Nolan was found face down, fully clothed. Well, that's significant.
Todd Terrell Nolan was face down, still fully clothed on the beach. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. He was face down, which would have meant that he drowned. Now, when we say he was found fully clothed on the beach, it was in the same vicinity of where he possibly
So y'all
drowned.
just gonna keep lying. Y'all just gonna keep lying. So what was it, Todd? Since you work for the National Cajun Navy, I thought he was fully clothed. So now they want to backtrack and say that boy wasn't clothed. Y'all just lying. Y'all some liars trying to cover this shit the fuck up. But you told Nancy. Now, Nancy, they told you he was fully clothed. So now we got to get to the bottom of why the fuck they're lying now.
See how the stories keep changing? I told you all that, beloveds. I told you all that the stories keep changing, okay? Because more and more people are being brought into it, if you ask me. Now, Linda Morris says, Queen, you know that Nolan's dad is from the famous family Wales. She was the Mississippi family from slavery. You're talking about Ida B. Wells, beloved, not his father. That would be his mother. His mother's maiden name is Wells, beloved. That's why Nolan's last name is Wells. I believe that his mother and father got married after he was born. But her father, I follow him on Facebook, and his name is his last name is Wells. Okay, so that's where that came from. That's where that came from. Yes, I reported that this morning. Thank you, beloved. Peace, love, and blessings. Okay, so like I said, they're sitting up here lying and changing their stories. Okay, now why are they changing their stories? The fact that all these people have said one thing and now they're saying something completely different should be enough to let us all know that at the end of the day, it's a whole cover up in full effect. Okay, I keep telling y'all that these people and these little small towns, they all work together in concert and unison. These people all do the same dirt as far as I'm concerned. And it's not too much of a stretch for them to get someone like Brian Trasher, okay, to be on their team because he looks like them. And guess what? At the end of the day, you think that they really want those young, wealthy, white boys to go to prison? Of course they don't. Okay, of course they don't. Here's her father right here. His name is Christopher Wales Sr. Okay, and that's what I did a whole thing on that this morning. Go back and watch that video, beloveds. Y'all missed out. Okay, y'all missed out. This is him right here, Christopher Wales Sr. That is Miss Christine's father. So for anybody who was trying to say she's not black, okay, and all this, and I heard somebody saying something so stupid, talking about her and Nolan had a Filipino flag because she's half Filipino and Nolan was too. Here's the thing. They had a Filipino flag, and what's the problem? If you're half Filipino, I would imagine that you just would. Okay? Yeah, she does look like her daddy, just anticipate. That's where she gets those fluffy cheeks from. She absolutely looks like him. Okay? People need to stop hating. That's what people need to stop doing. They need to stop hating. But hold on. Let's continue. Likes up, everyone, please. Like and share. Thank you in advance. Y'all, let's talk about Jeff Metcalf, because y'all know he's up to his old tricks again. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this whole raccoon, this token Negro, with his niggering self, okay? All right, his niggering self. I made that word up. It comes from the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur dictionary. Now, here's the thing. I want y'all to pay attention. He got this bootlicker, clearly, to come out here and help him paint his narrative. We got to talk about Shiloh, too. Y'all remember Shiloh, the one who called that little black child the N-word, and then white folk, racist white folk, MAGA minions, they all donated money to her, made her rich. Anyway, she's probably spent it all by now. But I want you all to pay attention to this, because every one of us should know that after Jeff Metcalf came out here, okay, Ladybug, thank you, beloved. Ever since Jeff Metcalf came out here and talked all this disparaging stuff about black folk, and then, talked about, and acted as though they did us a favor by freeing us from slavery. Never mind, they're the ones who enslaved us, mind you. And then called Carmelo a watermelon felon and said all these hateful things. Now, is he trying to come back out here and act as though he's not a whole racist? Because it's a little too late for goodbyes, okay? But he has some black man out here with him to help paint the narrative. I mean, there's a whole bunch of people like Officer Tatum, sadly, amongst us. You just have to know them when you see them.
The father of the Frisco teenager murdered at a school track meet is starting a foundation in his honor. Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, spoke to reporters today about the new charity. He also addressed some controversial comments he made after the trial of Carmelo Anthony, the former Frisco ISD student convicted of murder. Fox 4's Amelia Jones has more from today's news conference. Amelia.
Heather, Jeff Metcalf's main focus today was all about the announcement of the Austin Metcalf Foundation and its mission. But as you said, he did also comment on the upcoming appeal hearings and remarks he made after the trial ended and the gag order was lifted.
We're going to change the world. We're going to save lives. And we're starting the Austin Metcalf Foundation.
Jeff Metcalf says the foundation in his son's honor will focus on de-escalation strategies, conflict resolution, and emotional regulation for young people. Austin Metcalf was killed at a Frisco ISD track meet in April 2025 after an argument between him and then 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony escalated when Anthony pulled out a knife and stabbed him in the chest. The case became racially charged, and Anthony's trial in June captured national attention. A Collin County jury found him guilty of murder, and he was sentenced to 35 years in prison. On Friday, Jeff Metcalf acknowledged both could have walked away.
It could have been a different outcome. Austin could have done something different. So could the other person. But that's not what happened. And that's why this foundation is being formed. Because we don't need split-second decisions, changing lives forever.
On the website, it details how the foundation plans to give presentations and educational programs to places such as schools, churches, and athletic programs. During the press conference, Jeff was joined by Dr. Bruce Carter, a community advocate and a founding member of the foundation's board.
In my era, it used to say sticks and stones may break your bones, but words hurt now. Words cause people to shoot through buildings. Words cause people to take people's lives on the road rage. So we have to change that.
Anthony's new legal team is appealing his conviction. Hearings are set for August to address replacing the judge and arguments on the motion for a new trial. Metcalf says he's focused on the future.
The legal proceedings that are happening, I already knew that was going to happen. So I really don't give it much time.
But he did take time during the press conference to address some racially charged remarks he made after the trial to the media that have circulated online.
I could have went way off course that night. Some people think I did. I'm telling you right now, Oh no, I could have went way worse. I said that night. I own it. I admit it. Not my best moment. Can I do better? Yes. That's what I'm trying to teach.
Yeah, okay.
Metcalf shared today that he was invited to speak at an event at Mar-a-Lago in November. The topic is forgiveness.
Yeah, please. Okay, listen, this is nothing more than a publicity stunt. This is fake news. Okay, you can sit down somewhere. I don't give a damn if he becomes the biggest Christian, gets baptized, or whatever. I don't care what he does. He said what he said. And then talking about can he do better? He doesn't want to do better. He's been a racist his whole life. Look at him. You can tell. He taught his children to be racist. That's why they were arrested for spraying racist graffiti. Now he talks about changing and not making split-second decisions. Honey, he should have been given those lessons a long time ago when his boys were young rather than allegedly beating on their mother. Okay, that's what he should have been doing. At the end of the day, had he done that, Austin would likely still be here because he wouldn't have turned out to be a racist bully. Okay, may he rest in peace. Okay, that's just what it is. That's just what it is. Now, Queen Mona Hewitt says, Queen, I sent you an email at the press conference. Did you get it? No, I didn't, beloved. I get so many emails that sadly I can't go through them all. And I just tried to look for it, but I don't know what your email name is. So I don't see it. I don't know if your name is the same on the email, so I don't see it. But what I will say is somebody just sent me a reading that someone did on Nolan. Somebody remote viewed. Now I'm here for that because I remote view myself. You all know that. I be remote viewing, astral projecting, all of those things. But it's only when I'm eating clean and healthy like I'm supposed to. Other than that, my powers are not as accurate or as strong as they should be. Okay, which is why I'm going to go on a whole fast. Okay, starting tomorrow for at least 3 days. Now, with that all being said, let's check out this. Let's check out this reading. Well, no, before we get into that, I'm going to get into it, but hold on. Likes up, everyone. Please like and share. Thank you in advance. First of all, let's talk about this thing right here. And then I want to talk about Shiloh. And then we'll get into that. This lady right here. Okay, this is the devil. This is the devil. She only got 3 years for breaking the bones of newborns. Some of these babies were preemies. Okay? I mean, it's a nerve. Nothing but hate crimes. So why wasn't she charged with a whole hate crime? That's what I'm talking about. Why didn't they charge this witch with a hate crime? Because she only did this to black babies, so we already know what it was, right? But see, this is how they play in our faces. This is how they play in our faces. 3 years. But Carmelo Anthony got 35 for self-defense, and now the truth comes out. Please miss us with it. Please miss us with it. This is the devil. Erin Stratman, that's her name, was sentenced to 3 years in prison after pleading no contest to abusing 9 premature babies at a Virginia hospital. Surveillance footage showed Stratman, age 27, she looks old as L for being 27, mishandling infants in the NICU, okay, causing fractures. That's right, they were all preemies. That's why they were in ICU, causing fractures and other injuries. Now, Stratman's nursing license was revoked and she's permanently barred from working in healthcare. That's not enough. See, that's not enough. Let me tell y'all something. I thank God every day that I never had anybody try anything like that with either of my sons when I was raising them, because Lord knows it's only so much I'm going to take. If that lady right there had done anything like that remotely to either one of my sons, she wouldn't be doing 3 years. She wouldn't be doing 3 years. I'd be doing life. Okay, I would probably be doing life because at the end of the day, how dare you? Okay, how dare you? And I don't, condone violence only in defense of oneself or someone else. And to me, if somebody does something like that to your child, that is always self-defense. Okay, please pay attention. Now, with that all being said, she got 3 years for doing that to premature babies. That's it. That is so crazy to me. But you know what else is crazy to me? That lady Shiloh. Y'all remember, what was her name? We called her the Karen. Shiloh, let me pull that up because I literally just saw this before I got on here. Shiloh Hendricks, that's her. So she got like hold on, let me go to the verdict reaction. Here it is right here. This came out yesterday. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. So many appellate issues breaking down claims by Shiloh Hendricks' defense. Yeah, well, she should have been found guilty. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Let's get into it. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. See, and this is the thing. This is how you know. Let me tell y'all something. This is how you know. Hey, the lounge, beloved. This is how you know that the MAGA minions, okay, they will even harm your children. They will sit there and call children nasty names. Okay, they will just harass anybody that's Black. They don't even care if it's a child. Who wants to harm children? Who does that? Children are completely innocent. They don't have anything to do with anything nefarious. But you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is. Let's go to the clip. Like up, everyone, please like and share. Thank you in advance. So darn shame.
Us, I'm Axel Gumbel. Robin Wolfram has the night off. Well, the trial of Shiloh Hendricks is now over, with the jury reaching a verdict late last night. Hendricks is the woman who was seen using a racial slur toward a child at a Rochester playground. After 9 hours of deliberations yesterday, the jury came back with a split verdict, finding Hendricks not guilty of disorderly conduct involving the child, but guilty of disorderly conduct toward the man who caught the incident on video last year. Hendricks received probation, a $1,000 fine, and 200 hours of community service. ABC 6's Caroline Weir joins us now live with reaction to the verdict and what's next as the defense prepares an appeal. And Caroline, you've also been looking into some of those claims made by Shiloh Hendricks' attorney after court wrapped up.
Yeah, Axel, that's right. Hendricks' attorney, Brian Corrales, made a number of allegations following the verdict, arguing the trial proceedings were not handled correctly or lawfully. He actually described it as the most unprofessional circus he'd ever been a part of.
This whole thing is fucking bullshit.
That was defense attorney Brian Corrales' reaction moments after a jury found Shiloh Hendricks guilty on one count of disorderly conduct. After court, Corrales argued the trial was unfair and accused the judge of repeatedly interrupting him, limiting evidence, and mishandling the proceedings.
There are so many appellate issues. This was one of the craziest trials I've ever seen.
One issue Corrales repeatedly pointed to involved Rule 901 of the Minnesota Rules of Evidence, which deals with introducing evidence at trial.
Judge said Rule 901 of the Rules of Evidence only applies to prosecutors. You were there. I mean, come on. Come on. Look it up.
Her lawyer looks like he's addicted to illegal substances and looks like he's been drinking. Okay, after all that money that her folk, you know, her other MAGA minions donated, that's the best lawyer she could come up with? Okay, I find it all interesting, but let's continue.
You're not going to do the research. You're not going to look up Rule 901.
So we decided to look up Rule 901 and clarify whether it does apply to both sides with defense attorney Peter Martin, who has known Corrales for years and says he was in contact with him throughout portions of the trial.
So Rule 9 requires the prosecution to turn over stuff. And if they didn't turn it over, that's a clear violation of Ms. Hendricks' rights in this case.
Another claim Corrales made was that the Rochester community no longer cares about the case. So we asked people in Rochester whether they agreed.
I think most of the people in the community have followed it, maybe from one extreme to the other.
Now the focus shifts to what's next. Corrales says he plans to appeal the conviction, arguing multiple issues throughout the trial made for an unfair proceeding.
When you appeal, you also order transcripts. And so the Court of Appeals will be able to look at a verbatim transcript of actually how things went down.
And while Martin says Corrales' conduct in and outside the courtroom could lead to scrutiny by the Minnesota Lawyers Board if a complaint is filed, it would not impact his ability to appeal the conviction. It is unclear at this time when Corrales plans to file that appeal, but Martin says that process we could likely see go on for over a year. Live in Rochester, Caroline Weir, ABC.
Okay, at the end of the day, I find it all so interesting. That lawyer looks a whole hot mess. Okay, Evelyn says, Queen, they're going after our young, trying to stop our lineage. Yes, absolutely. And listen, I have said this many times, okay, and I'm going to say it again. I've been telling you all this since probably 2020. At the end of the day, beloved, it's just like in the Bible when the Pharaoh had the Hebrews enslaved, which is us, okay? When they had the Hebrews enslaved and then they had the midwives, the Pharaoh told the midwives to kill the Hebrew male children when they were born because he felt that they were growing in number and they were becoming more stronger, and that one day eventually they may all get together and just turn on the Egyptians and overtake them, or align with their enemies to help take them out of power. So they had them killed. That's the same thing they're doing. This is biblical prophecy. I mean, it's basically the same thing, not prophecy necessarily, but this is the same thing that happened in the Bible. It's biblical what they're doing. It's spiritual warfare. Okay, so what they're doing right now is I told you all before, what they do is the ones that they're taking out are usually between the ages of 14 to like maybe 35 on the average. And the reason being is because, you know, they want to get our youth out of here because they're going to be, notice how they only take the ones that are usually productive in society. The ones who are going to college, like Jelani Day. I saw someone just put Jelani Day in the chat. I reported his story too. But what they do is they're trying to get the ones who are college students, the ones who are athletes, the ones who are going to be productive in society. They're not going after gangbangers and, you know, these little thugs out here on the corner selling illegal substances. No, they're not bothering them, because see, those are their street soldiers. Those are the ones they want to stay out there and cause detriment in our communities. They're the ones that are doing the black on black crime that they keep talking about and acting like they're against, but they're all for, because that's why the police departments will not break up these gangs. They will not dismantle the Bloods, the Crips, and all these other gangs or whatever, but they did that to the Black Panther Party for self-defense. So this is all by design. It's nothing new. This is what they've been doing and what they'll continue to do at the end of the day. That's why they have to be called out on every turn. Okay, that's why they have to be called out. They are trying to stop our lineage. And at the end of the day, because they fear that if we rise to power, we'll do to them what they've been doing to us all this time. But at the end of the day, we wouldn't do that to them, because we are not them, and we are more humane. We don't want to be out here being racist and hateful and watching people and all of their business, harassing people and just being miserable. All we want to do is be left the hell alone. You see, when they leave us alone, you know what we do? We build Black Wall Streets. And they get jealous and they come and bomb it and destroy it. That's what they do. Black people can work together and start their own businesses and put their money, keep our money in our community, but they're even mad about that. That's why some of the Asians who are the distributors of the beauty supply products have refused to sell to Black business owners, because they want to put us in a bind and make us have to give our money to them. You see, the thing is, when Black people, everybody else, every other group can have their money amongst themselves. You know, the Jewish people keep their money in their community. You have the Mexicans keep it in theirs, the Asians, all of these people can keep their money in their community. Nobody's going to say anything. But what they're going to say something about is when Black folks start keeping our money in our community. Why is that a problem for all these other groups? I'm so glad you asked, because many of these other groups make their money, a bulk of their money, off of us. Think about all of the trillions of dollars that the Asians have made of us collectively, from their beauty supply products, from their hair, their nail salons and all of that, from the clothing, things that they sell, okay, and for cheap. And then think about how not only that, but think about how we've been going to their restaurants, the Chinese food and all of that. They've been making all of this money off of us. Think about the white folk, the people that own Gucci, Fendi, Prada. Y'all spend thousands on that, honey. The Queen would never. Okay, you're not going to see me out here spending all that money on their stuff. These are name brands. Do you know where they got the term name brands from? When they branded our ancestors during slavery. Whatever the slave owner's last name was your last name. Okay, that's why we still have their last names till today, unless you change it. Okay, but so back then they branded you forcefully. They would brand their names on your backs. But at the end of the day, now people foolishly brand themselves by going to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars on Gucci, Fendi, and Prada. People that have clearly said at some points that they don't even like us, and some of them have even said they don't even want us wearing their clothes. They disrespect us. But some of y'all ain't gonna stop and you ain't gonna learn, because you're too busy trying to please everybody else and trying to keep up with the Joneses. Do y'all remember what Gucci did? Hold on, let me pull it back up. And it wasn't just Gucci, it was Fendi and Prada too, who did some racist bullshit. Okay, y'all know it, but some of y'all still rocking Gucci till this day, honey. But like I said, the Queen could never. Okay, that racist turtleneck that they had, yeah. And then T.I. came out talking about let's boycott them for 3 months. 3 months? How about we boycott them forever? Okay, how about we boycott them forever? Make it all make sense. Here it is right here. Y'all remember this, don't you? And some of y'all still wearing it. Okay, some of y'all are still rocking it and thinking y'all look good. Y'all look crazy to me. There you go right there. That's what they made. Gucci. That's what they made. So, honey, I don't care about name brands, because I look good in whatever I put on, whether it's expensive or not. At the end of the day, and y'all would too if you would only try it. So that's all I'm saying. That I don't spend my money on that foolishness, because all you're doing when you do that is just paying them your money that you worked hard for, and or you hustled hard for. Some of y'all got sugar daddies, clearly. But anyway, with that being said, these people are building their generational wealth off of your backs, just like they built it off of our ancestors' backs from slavery with a free labor. Now you mean to tell me you're going to go work a 40-hour-a-week job, make your money, and go spend thousands upon thousands on their bullshit to help them stay rich when they don't even like you? They don't like any of us. And that's just a fact. We've seen the things that they've done on the runway. We've seen how they have put out disparaging things. If you remember, H&M a few years ago, and some of y'all still wear that too. Remember how H&M had that little black boy and it had on his shirt the coolest monkey in the jungle, but the other little kids were like lions and tigers, but they want to make the little black child a monkey. Stereotypical BS. But some of y'all will still rock with these people. And see, this is the kind of things that has to stop. These are the reasons why people like them that own these expensive name brand clothing items in stores, they get upset when we start keeping our money in our own community, because then they know, oh, the black folk is not going to keep paying us. They're waking up. See, that's what we all need to do. We need to boycott them too. See, y'all are not going to do that. I don't believe you'll do it. At the end of the day, it's not about what they're doing right now. It's about what they've always done. And they have always collectively disrespected us. Okay, please pay attention. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. Now, let me get to my last point before I roll out of here, okay, because I have somewhere to be. With that all being said, let me just tell you all this. Someone sent me this thing. I forget who sent it to me, but they clearly have not watched the last few broadcasts. Someone sent me Mississippi's Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves took part in old South themed parties in college and joined a frat whose members were blackface, afro wigs, Confederate costumes, and shouted racial slurs at black students. Ha! I reported on this last week. We already know he's a whole racist, okay? That's why I stay on his butt, okay? That's why I keep my heels on his neck. I already know Tate Reeves is racist. I can tell that just from looking at him. You see, the racism is oozing through his pores. You see, that's why he looks the way he looks. And if I look like that, I think I'd be mad at black people too, damn it. But at the end of the day, yeah, we already know about his blackface. Did you also know that in 2013, he was a keynote speaker at some racist Confederate rally? I think it was called the Sons of Confederates or something like that, Sons of Liberty or whatever. And there was a huge Confederate flag behind him plastered on the wall. Yeah, he's absolutely racist, honey. Okay, no question about it. That's why when he came out and spoke on Nolan Wells, he didn't have the decency to give condolences to the parents. He didn't do that. He just came out there and started defending those little thugs who I believe had everything to do with Nolan's demise. Now, with that all being said, let's talk about Jim Crow and the violence. And see, here's the thing. You know how we talk about not our children not being safe if they're the only one amongst a group of children who don't look like them, or young people who don't look like them, or whatever? That's because here's the thing. Historically, Klansmen, these wanted supremacist hate groups, they've always brought their children to those things. They've always had their children sitting right there. I mean, if you look at the old lynching photos, okay, the postcards that they used to sell and give away and all of that, if you look at it, you see children in the crowd smiling and laughing. You see that. Even Charlie Kirk, before he passed, Charlie Kirk even made a comment. I think I showed it to you all recently, though. He basically said something about public lynchings, not lynchings, but he said public executions, I believe is what he used. And then he said him and the guy that he was talking to were trying to decipher how old or what age a child should be to attend a public execution. Now, I would never want a child to see that. If it were up to me, who wants a child to witness murder? Okay, even if it is under the guise of the law. That's crazy. But see, these people have historically taught their children to be hateful. And I don't mean all white folk. Again, I'm talking about the MAGA minions. They have always taught their children to be hateful and to be racist just like them. That's exactly what Jeff Metcalf said and has done. And clearly he can sit down somewhere trying to come out with his foundation as though he wants to do some good in society. It's a grift. Okay, it's a gift. If you go on his TikTok, it literally says, make sure you join his subscription or whatever it is so you can pay money, I'm sure. And then let's not forget how he still had a whole GoFundMe, him and Megan. But I find it interesting that some black folk will sit here and say that Ben Crump is an ambulance chaser or he's all about money. Ben Crump should absolutely be paid for the hard work that he does. He should absolutely be paid. And y'all can sit down because Bobblehead Sharpton, he came out there and offered $50,000, okay, for the reward money. So he just let y'all know, okay, what he thought about y'all talking trash about him. Now I'm still gonna talk trash about Reverend Al, because I just think he's a little sketchy. But the bottom line is I applaud his efforts in the Nolan Wells case. I don't have to agree with everything he does, but I still look at him with a whole side eye, because I know that at one point he was working with the feds. Now, he could sit there and try to tell us that he was only reporting on the mob, but honey, please, what did you know about the mob, Al? The mob wasn't telling you any secrets. Sit down somewhere. You wasn't a made man. You wasn't even one of the people that they would allow to sit in on a meeting, okay, as far as I'm concerned. So I really think that he was helping them with black folk, okay? That's all I'm saying. But as for Ben Crump, like I told you all, he shines a light on these things, and it's good that he does so. Otherwise, they will continue to sweep many of these cases under the rug. So whether you like him or not, the man is doing good work. Now, let's talk about lynching as social control. So at the beginning of the 20th century, much of the anti-black propaganda found in scientific journals, newspapers, and novels focused on the stereotype of the black brute. Okay, the fear of black men raping white women became a public rationalization for the lynching of black folk. Okay, lynching is illegal, and it is often a public killing of an accused person by a mob. Most of the victims were hanged or shot, but some were burned at the stake, castrated, beaten with clubs, or dismembered. Okay, now in the mid-1800s, white people constituted the majority of victims and perpetrators. However, after the Civil War, black people were the most frequent victims. The great majority of lynchings occurred in southern and border states where the resentment against black people ran the deepest. Now, here's the thing. Let me just say, when they say that in the 1800s, white people were constituted the majority of the victims and perpetrators, well, that's because the white people were the ones committing these lynchings, but also they were some of the ones that died. You know why that was? So glad you asked. Because you see, they were killing the good white folk. The Ahmadiyyah types back then, they were killing the good white folk. That's what they were doing. The white folk who dared to try to fight for black people's rights and freedoms. Okay, Viola Louisa, 44 years old, white woman, taking black people to vote. Just giving people rides back and forth so they can vote. Klan shot her in the face and killed her. Okay. And I remember some black person got mad at me one time because I was bringing all this up and I was giving props to the black people or to the white folk who died during the civil rights marches and all those things, the fight for civil rights, and they didn't have a dog in the race. And I remember someone took a clip of my video and they put it on their channel and they titled it Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur, Tapes for White People for 8 minutes. And she got some views, but here's the thing. Oh, so that's caping for white people? Well, if it is, so be it. The bottom line is I'm going to always show my appreciation for white people who put themselves out there to be threatened, to be unalived, and all of these things because they're speaking up for black folk. Okay, that's just what it is. So I'm not supposed to be appreciative of the contribution they gave, even if it was their own life. That's so obtuse to me. I don't really care what anyone thinks. I really don't. But I'm going to say the truth, and that's just what it is. Now, that all being said, like I told you, they were killing the good white folk who were trying to help black people. Now, with that all being said, the brute caricature. Let's talk about that. During the post-war period of racial reconstruction, and that was in 1867 to around 1877, by the way, many white writers argued that without slavery, which supposedly contained their animalistic tendencies, this is what they said, that we act like animals, and the only way to contain those animalistic tendencies was through slavery. But mind you, isn't that how the slave owners were acting? They were the ones acting like animals. Please pay attention. So anyway, they said that black people were reverting to criminal savagery. The brute caricature portrayed black men as threatening menaces, fiends, and sociopaths, and as hideous, terrifying predators who targeted helpless victims. This is all them, okay? The MAGA means, okay? Terrifying predators who targeted helpless victims, especially white women. Now, do y'all see black men going around here targeting and harassing white women? No, you don't. But you do see white men going around here beating the hell out of black women. That's what you see. You see some of these white men going around here beating the hell out of black women. Do you all remember about 5 or 6 years ago in Texas when that white man beat the crap out of that black woman? I'm talking about pistol whipped her over a parking space, and then they charged him with a misdemeanor until everybody raised hell, and then they upped the charges to a felony. I wonder whatever happened with that case. I need to go back and look up the updates, see if he ever got any serious time, because he should have. Okay, he should have. But this is what they'll do. I just saw a video days ago of a police officer grabbing a black woman and just tossing her like she was a bag of trash. Now, the KKK is terrorist. Now, the Ku Klux Klan, also called the Invisible Empire, is the name of a secret society that has terrorized Black people from the end of the Civil War to present. Claiming to be a Christian organization, Klan members have harassed, beaten, lynched, and bombed Black Americans, as well as Catholics and Jews, as well as immigrants and others. Klan membership exceeded 2 million in the mid 1920s. By 2010, the number was less than 20,000. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the hype, because I just showed you all how many of them actively are operating right now all across this country. Okay, multiple chapters in some of these states. So it's a whole lot more than 20,000. That's just the ones that they probably just wouldn't admit to. Okay, but please pay attention. Now, today, there are many small independent Klan organizations in addition to dozens of other white supremacist groups still active in the United States and beyond. The new Klans have mainstreamed their recruitment by publicly de-emphasizing violence. Okay, they also stress opposition to affirmative action, busing, and liberal immigration policies. Yeah, of course, because they don't like anybody who isn't white. That's how that goes. That's how that goes. And like I said, they have a history of bringing their kids that they have indoctrinated clearly into the BS. So the KKK and other white supremacist groups lynched Black people to enforce wanton supremacy, suppress Black political power, and maintain economic and social control following the abolition of slavery. Lynchings, the illegal public murders of individuals by a mob without a trial, functioned as a form of racial terrorism. The violence was designed to intimidate the entire Black community and maintain a rigid racial hierarchy. Now, the primary reasons behind these acts of violence include enforcing white supremacy, wanton supremacy, and Jim Crow laws, preserving a racial caste system. Following the Civil War and the emancipation of enslaved people, wanton supremacists used extreme violence to force Black Americans into a subordinate second-class status. Punishing social transgressions. Now, Black individuals were frequently lynched for perceived violations of Jim Crow customs or racial etiquette, such as failing to step off a sidewalk, laughing, or not addressing a white person with absolute deference. Political disenfranchisement and voter suppression was also a way to target Black voters, which Trump is trying to bring all that back. Please pay attention. That's what the redistricting is all about. That's what ICE being at the polls is all about, to keep the immigrants from wanting to come and vote because they're so desperate to win midterms. Vote blue no matter who, okay? Please pay attention. Now, during Reconstruction in the decades that follow, Black citizens began voting in high numbers and electing Black officials. The KKK used lynching as a tool to terrorize Black people away from the ballot box. Influencing elections, that's another thing. Historical data shows that lynchings routinely spiked around election periods. Pay attention, okay? Message, particularly in regions where white Democratic control faced political challenges, economic subjugation, and eliminating competition and exploiting Black labor. Now, mobs used the threat of death to keep Black laborers, such as sharecroppers, from demanding fair pay, seeking better working conditions as well, or even leaving their jobs. Destroying Black wealth, that was one of their main goals and objectives. Successful Black entrepreneurs, landowners, and community leaders who achieved financial independence were targeted to crush Black economic advancements, okay, and to basically eliminate competition from white businesses. Fabricated accusations and the Black brute, that myth weaponized false claims. Now, mobs and local media frequently fabricated or weaponized false criminal allegations, most notably the rape or assault of white women, to publicly justify their violence. Okay, they had to make it look good. A tool for terror. In reality, historical investigations, such as those by journalist Ida B. Wells, okay, shout out to Ida B. Wells, who is also a relative of Nolan Wells, was an ancestor of his, proved that these allegations were largely manufactured to mask the underlying political and economic motivations of the white mobs. Also, systemic complicity and impunity, legal protection is what they call it. Now, KKK members operated with near total impunity from the law. That's because many of them are police officers and judges and attorneys, okay, and DAs. So local police, judges, and government officials were frequently members of the Klan themselves or actively participated in the lynchings. All white juries consistently refused to convict white perpetrators, ensuring no legal consequences for the murders. And here's the thing. So the next time some racist MAGA minion comes and tells you, stop trying to make it about race, or they try to make you feel bad and say, well, why are you focusing on this? Because a white person is accused of doing it. Why are you not worried about black on black crime? You tell them this, because this is a fact. If Pookie and Ray Ray kill a black person, when they get caught, they're going to prison without a doubt. It's not even a question. They're going. Okay, they're going to pay for their crimes. But when someone like Warren Hudson, okay, when someone like Warren Hudson or Lucas Aviz, when they kill a black person, and I'm not saying they did, I'm just saying people like them, because we don't know exactly what happened to Nolan. I just have my suspicions. But at the end of the day, when young white men like them are accused of murdering a black person, having anything to do with nefariousness that happened to a black person, possibly at their hands, this is what happens. The whole cover-up ensues. Everybody in town gets on code. Everybody in the news media starts painting the same narrative, starts calling us out on racism. See, they flip the script. That's what they do. They start saying all the things that they're actually doing is what we're actually doing. They get people like Brandon Tatum. Okay, they get the token Negroes to get them out there in front of it, to have them calling us out on our bullshit and have them calling us racist and all of that, and saying we're making it about race and we're being divisive, because who better to go in on us besides someone who looks just like us? See, that way they try to keep us from using the race card. That's what they say. But at the end of the day, we're going to play it anyway, because that's the only card we were given. So they can miss us with it. That's right, Wally. Misdirection. Exactly. So anyway, with that all being said, beloveds, listen, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. Laverne said gaslight us. Absolutely. So it would behoove us all to do our due diligence and talk to your children and grandchildren. Let them know about racism in this country, how it has permeated this country forever and a day, and how it has not gone anywhere. We may not be living in the 1960s, but the things they did in the 1960s are still being done today under the guise of something else. They just call it by a new name. They might say that redlining is over and done with, but no, it isn't. There's still some places they don't want your black behind to live, and they'll let you know that when you try to move in, when you see Karen coming and knocking on your door, asking you, I'm sorry, why are you here? Is this your house? They do all sorts of things. So nothing has really changed, has it? Sadly, it hasn't. It really hasn't. This whole thing with Carmelo Anthony, when we were going through that whole trial with him and we saw the railroading and the lies and the narratives being painted, the false narratives, and how his own attorney was working against him, those of us who were smart enough to see, we knew these things were happening. And I kept telling you all that it made me feel like I was literally in an episode or in the story of To Kill a Mockingbird. I felt like I was back in Jim Crow watching a trial, where we knew who did it and we knew they were already guilty, but we already knew that when the jury comes back from deliberating, they're not going to get no time. And let me just tell you all something. Prepare yourselves, because even though the truth is coming out about what happened to Nolan, at the end of the day, y'all think those white boys are going to go to prison. It would be so lovely if they did, if they're in fact guilty, which I think they absolutely are. But at the end of the day, they're likely not going to go anywhere. Okay, they're likely not going to go anywhere, because even if they do get indicted, which I doubt, because I don't think they're going to even bring enough significant evidence to have the grand jury actually indict them. But even if they were to go to trial, they've already set up their reasonable doubt. This is why they're coming out talking to social media. I want you all to pay attention to something. Think about this. Think about how Sheriff Ledbetter and the DA down there in Ocean Springs both have come out at different times suggesting that no one should be talking about the case online. Not us, but I'm saying none of the people dealing in the case. The DA, first of all, the sheriff came out and asked us to stop speculating, but I find it interesting because, like I told you, he was speculating. First of all, he's the one that speculated and said it was nothing to see here, folks. It looks like no evidence of foul play. It looks like a accidental drowning. That was speculation because he gathered no receipts. But then we had the DA come out just days ago, and then she said there was a lot of misinformation floating around online, and she suggested that anyone that's affiliated with the case not speak out publicly, like for the sheriff or any of the officials, is basically what she said. Don't speak out about the case. Okay, now why does she not want them speaking out about the case? Because she doesn't want them to slip up and tell themselves, like Warren's been doing the whole time he did that interview with nefarious Brandon Tatum. Okay? at the end of the day. That's what that is all about. But I find it interesting because one thing about it is he wanted to get out here and get ahead of the story and try to paint himself as the victim and him and his little friends and act like they're getting all these death threats and, oh, it's so sick that people are trying to make it about race. These are the words they use: sick, disgusting. Every accusation is, again, a confession. When they use those types of words, that's because they know that what they did and what they continue to do, that's what it is. It's sick and it's disgusting and it's nonsensical and it reeks of hate, jealousy, and envy. That's just what it is. Okay, that's just what it is. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast and I will see you all tomorrow. Okay, I will see you all tomorrow with your morning wake-up call. I'll have more information on Nolan as more information becomes available, and we'll be talking about some other stuff too. So until then, each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. And until next time, I will talk to you all again soon.
Fourth of July, fireworks in the sky, but the truth's still buried underground. Royal Oak, yeah. They told me, wave the flag while the chains still clank. Told me praise the names on the blood-soaked banks. Told me freedom was born in the room full of men who wrote liberty down while they own human skin. So fuck your founding fathers and the myths they made. I don't pledge to the lie, I don't kneel to the page. You can light up the sky, I remember the smoke from the fields, from the ships, from the necks in the rope. You call it independence, I call it selective. You call it patriotic, I call it protective. Of the story so fragile it cracks when questioned. Truth knocks once and they call it aggression. Yeah. Red for the blood they spilled, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, yeah. No justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. They say, look how far we came. I say, look what it cost. Every courthouse got a shadow, every victory got lost. They gave statues to the takers, made heroes out of thieves. Put their faces on the money while the hungry couldn't breathe. Don't lecture me on freedom from a stolen land stage. Don't quote old documents with blood on the page. Don't tell me be grateful for a seat at the table when my people built the room and got treated unstable. You can't buy me through the truth, you can dress it in stars, but the anthem still echoes like chains behind bars. I don't hate the people, I hate the disguise. I hate when the guilty get praised as the wise. Red for the blood they spilled, white for the lies they told, blue for the bruises left on the bodies they sold. Don't ask me to celebrate what never included mine. I came with the receipts, I came to redraw the line. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile through the pain. Fuck your founding fathers, let the fireworks cry. This ain't freedom for the people. If the truth still gotta hide, no justice, no peace, no lie gets crowned. We don't worship old ghosts when the roots scream loud. Fuck your founding fathers. On the 4th of July, I'm lighting up the truth while they light up the sky. Don't call it hate when the wound speaks back. Don't call it division when our name was fact. Don't call it progress while the system still bites. Don't call it freedom if we still gotta fight. I'm not here for comfort, I'm not here to pretend. I'm here for the children who deserve better than them. Better than myths, better than chains, better than flags used to cover up of pain. So this one's for the ancestors who never got rest, for the names never written but who gave us their best, for the mothers who prayed, for the fathers who ran, for the babies born fighting in the stolen man's plan. This is not disrespect, this is correction. This is not rebellion, this is resurrection. You can keep your parade, I keep speaking the truth. I don't need permission to remember my roots. Royal oak in the soil, truth in the flame. If the crown came with silence, then I don't want the name. But if the crown means standing when the whole world falls, then I'm 10 toes down till the real story's told. Fuck your founding fathers, I don't owe them praise. They built a nation on our backs, then told us smile.